Hey folks, glad to see you all here. Really, really excited to celebrate with you. I'm already not reading off my cards because I'm just like very touched that you would make time to be in space with us and hold space with us. My name's Sonia Joy Key, and I'm the Community and Culinary Education Manager at Poughkeepsie Project. And I'm joined by my wonderful other PFP staff. There we go. So PFP builds a more resilient regional food system by operating a 15-acre vegetable production farm that's certified naturally grown. We increase access to our delicious produce through no and low-cost shares and food donations. Our education programs reach over 4,000 people each year through culinary and herbal workshops. Thank you, Lala. Farm and garden field trips, educational tabling at local events, BIPOC Strong and Spanish language welcoming garden Wednesdays. Thank you, Lalas, both of you. And a young adult paid internship. Yeah, we got a lot going on. PFP is in our 25th year, and that's thanks in part to a low-cost, long-term lease from Vassar College, although Vassar Farm has been closed for 70 years. Just want you to know, because there is a sign outside. 4 years ago, when asked to help draft a new grant for environmental justice-related project, I asked the question if PFP was listening to Black Poughkeepsie residents about our work. The honest answer at the time might have been sometimes. Or some in leadership are listening, but not others. We asked the Department of Environmental Conservation in New York State for resources to gather 500 community surveys, which we've been doing over the last 3 years, and lead 50 interviews, which we've done as a beautiful photo journal project that will be shared on social media in the coming months. I thought back to the TMI workshop I took at Omega Institute, and seeing Micah, one of our facilitators, perform at a SUNY New Paltz Multicultural Education Conference many years before. I asked my supervisor at the time, what if we capped this community listening project off by working with TMI Project? And the rest is history being made here tonight.
Thank you, Sonia Joy. Hey, everyone. I'm Dara with TMI Project. I am a workshop co-facilitator. I am also partner outreach coordinator. And I am just super thrilled, and not really wanting to read from my script either, but just super thrilled about this cohort of storytellers. This has been such an amazing journey. And I didn't have the backstory that Micah brought in with PFP, so this has been beautiful for me. So TMI Project, what are we? Who are we? We are all about changing the world one story at a time. We are about helping folks tell their radically true stories to push back against isolation that comes down on all of us through shame, through guilt, through fear, through anger, through cultural stereotypes that hem us in. And in our storytelling workshops, we're all about opening up that space so people can breathe and stretch and tell their true stories. What else do I need to tell you? Yeah, we're talking about stepping out of isolation into this beautiful community. And so I think that's all I got right now. I'm just delighted for this evening.
I'm the other half of the workshop leader, along with Dara, who've been working with these storytellers and others. This group represents other folks who took part and share their stories at times with us in small ways. We have laughed together, we've eaten together, we have gone deep together, we've made space for each other, and really honored to be here now. Storytelling is really, this is social justice, this work. sharing our stories, actually being able to get up and share our stories, who we are, to share our truths and our radical stories, that is what disrupts the status quo. That is what actually changes the narrative, and that is the ways in which we actually connect with each other. The details of my story and their stories might be different than your stories, but it touches us here, and we connect through actual real human emotions, and that changes things. It changes us, and it changes the world around us. And so TMI has always been dedicated to that. And we center our work around four initiatives: racial justice, gender equality, LGBTQIA plus rights, and mental health awareness. Tonight you're going to hear from these 6 storytellers. After their stories, we're going to make a little bit of room for some Q&A. We're also going to let you know what these objects are here behind us. Each one of them will speak to that. And then we're going to do a little mini workshop, so you all get a chance to just have a really small taste of the beauty, the bravery that all of them experienced and what brought them to being in the space here now with us. Before we get into any of that, and we're just about there, I'm just gonna ask everybody to just get grounded with me as best as we can, to take a moment for that. As we do our best to really get present and to be here and to really listen, I'm gonna ask you, before we get really relaxed and quiet, just reach into your pocket and make sure your phone is off. We don't want that. We want to be able to give these speakers all of our attention. In truth, it's as much attention as we can. And so we just want to set the space for that. And I'll just ask you, if you can, to just notice your feet on the ground, or notice your body in the chair. Notice the breath in the body. Anything that you really know is present tense, right? You are breathing in this moment. You are sitting in the chair in this moment. I just want you to bring your attention as best as possible to something present. The sounds in the room, that hum of that fan, that's happening now. And I encourage you to tap into what is happening now. Take a breath, an inhale and an exhale. Notice the sensations in your body. What aches or pains, comforts or discomforts, what tingles or itches. I'm noticing that I want to let my shoulders drop a little bit. I want to let my spine lengthen. Just notice the sensations in your body. And I ask, as best as possible this evening, that you give as much attention as you can to the speakers, but that you save a little bit of attention to just be aware of your own body, the emotions, the feelings, the sensations that these readers will stir in you. Notice them. Lean into them. Connect through them. Let's take a breath together. Inhale and an exhale. One more. Inhale and exhale. Thanks, everybody.
Sometimes I worry that I've given away too much of me. Maybe I'm helping others who also didn't get to sit at their mother's knee. I don't learn about my mother's struggles with mental illness until I am much older, but I always sense something is wrong. Once, after attending a parent-teacher conference, my mother begins to cry. This confuses me because I know I'm not that bad a kid. Later, I find out the teacher told her I daydreamed quite often while I was in class. Remembering that incident many years later, I also recall how my mother took great care with my hair and clothes so that I always looked perfect. I realize now that in her mind, any criticism of me reflected directly on her excellence as a parent. And as far as she was concerned, she was doing a perfect job of parenting me. Growing up, there's so much I want to express, but I don't know if it's safe to say. At 15, I began to write poetry. It was my way of saying things that might be controversial while keeping my words calm and under control. Writing a poem and seeing the words on the page is soothing for me. Poetry teaches me that I can put the fragments and disconnected pieces of my life together to create something beautiful. Through my poems, I am able to see the beauty in my own life and the lives of broken people that I encounter. I understand this ability to be a gift. My storytelling can be so real, hard truth, along with how I feel, even on the video reel. My script writing can be a concept which I develop into a big deal, using words I carefully gather, braiding them together with relationships that sometimes do or don't matter, and full with script chatter. While my poetry can be pieces of my heart and where I give a reveal, I can be cold or loving and even bold, with every touch and every hold. Throughout my years as a social worker, I see so many tragedies and offer ways for people to get help. But not everyone can hear what I'm saying. I want to let people know that it's okay to be confused in life. Life is confusing and hurtful at times. It takes time to get it right. I mention this in many ways within my poetry. Life can be, and no matter how hard we try to understand it, there will always be another question. So please understand that's okay. Live your life, questions and all. Don't freeze and don't give up. Take the time you need and go at your own pace. If you never hear it anywhere else, I am telling you that you are special. Hold on to your JOY and your life. My grade school teacher was right. I actually did a lot of daydreaming in school. That was because the class routine was not interesting and did not challenge me, so I spent a lot of time wondering what life would be like as I grew up. I sensed there was something special waiting for me, but I was a child creating a dream without direction or guidance. Throughout my life, I have been a resource for others. Now I understand that my emotional giving must have limits. I need to keep some of my valuable energy for me. I am not meant to deplete myself for others. I want the time and opportunity to pass on some of what I have learned. For a while, I lost myself in a marriage that was just another daydream. I wish someone had woken me from that dream. I was so busy being helpful that I ignored my own ability to sense the truth. I did not trust myself enough, but that's changing. I sometimes find myself hesitating to get to the heart of my stories, keeping to the edges for safety. I feel braver writing in poetry, that I can twist and wind, keeping shame and secrets hidden within the lines. But recently, I have upped the value of my storytelling. Is upped even a word? Well, I just made it a word, since it's a word to encourage my own self to get more of my story, more out of me. As I get older, I wonder more about life. I am not at all winding down. Instead, I have upped it, and I am pushing to turn the dreams I want into my real life. Recently, I performed in a local county players production of Ragtime, and it was a great experience. I was hesitant at first, but with faith, I pushed through and became a valued member of the production. I also made some wonderful new friends along the way. From here on, I intend to continue participating in theatrical events, write my poetry book and share it with my community, produce the podcast to share some secrets about life, battle the battles that I need to battle, and drop the ones that I don't. In the past, I failed to truly believe in and value my dreams to live and share and be okay in our society, to have what I truly need. Now I am working to make my dreams a reality, and I want others to know that it's never too late. I can announce to you, if I want to, that nothing is black and white. I can ask you to look past all the hype, to search the path of words in order to know what is right. To be able to find your own light, I can advise you to hold on to your JOY, joy on you, and remember, it will always fit you right. Thank you.
From as early as 8 years old, I know that I am not a Christian. But as my grandmother's child, I know that I have to go wherever she takes me. The dresses I wear to church never seem to fit quite right. When they aren't too tight, they grate against my skin like sandpaper. And when the fabric is tolerable, the dress is the ugliest thing you've ever seen. My grandma insists that we wear these dresses to honor God. I constantly wonder, why would God care about what I'm wearing? For me, church service is not a spiritual event. It feels like an experimental play with unconvincing actors. I watch as men, women, and children throw themselves on the ground, drenched in sweat, screaming in tongues, dying and then coming back to life all in under a minute. I feel relief as they go through their death and rebirth, because that means that the service is about to end. Every Sunday we wake up, eat breakfast, and then drive over to Harvest Fire Worship Center for the 10 a.m. service. On the car ride over, I quiz my grandmother on the feasibility of miraculous biblical events, hoping that she'll have an epiphany and abandon 50 years of faith so we can turn around and watch TV instead. It never works out this way. These Sundays are where I first learned what resistance means. Back then, I was a small girl in a scratchy pink dress, vehemently refusing to let people tell me what life is. Now, I am a 20-year-old college student standing in front of 60 peers, discussing ways to push our school to divest from weapons manufacturing in support of Palestine. Well, we're all forming a circle on the lawn outside the library. We're surrounded by tents, tables, and banners that hang from the branches of a London plane tree. Do we resist, or do we compromise with the bureaucratic process this college is proposing? We could keep the encampment up and refuse to leave until they agree to divest. We could also take the encampment down and work diligently with the investment committees. I always notice how the sun shines through my favorite banner, painted by a cherished friend, illuminating the words, "This tree grows with Gaza," in English and Arabic. I love how the light touches me gently as it passes through the cloth. I stand behind two of my friends who are representing us during negotiations with our college administration. We discuss strategy for tomorrow, the steadily approaching deadline that the college president has given us to end our encampment. Or maybe we're talking about internal structure and how inefficient ours is. This is a conversation we have at least twice a day. Our group conversations are starting to blend into one long, radical, unorganized drone. We run in circles, chasing the tail of the last person to speak. Some people insist on resisting, but they disregard the loss that others have at risk. Some people think that we should take the deal, foolishly hoping that the administration will continue to listen to our voice. We don't understand each other, and we don't trust each other. The only thing uniting us is the grass beneath our feet and the banner hanging from the tree. Time is different here. Hours feel like minutes, and days feel like weeks. We say the same things over and over, and the only resolution we reach is that we must rehash this again soon. The people with the loudest voices are heard most often by society: white, rich college students who aren't risking their financial aid agreements or anything for that matter. I always agree to help, even though I'm constantly being pulled in so many different directions. On the first night I joined the encampment, someone's tent has a hole in the roof, letting cold rain in. They don't know who to ask, and so they ask me. I've just arrived, and I don't know anything about this place, but I care for the stranger, and I dedicate myself to finding them a dry place to sleep. On my second day, I facilitate a meeting asking the white students in SJP, or Students for Justice in Palestine, to give space for other people to speak. People begin to wonder what it means to dismantle the power structure that SJP implemented. These are important conversations, but after every meeting, I'm pushed to tears, only soothed by a hug from my closest friends. I don't know what I need. I'm exhausted, and I'm scared to admit that. I'm vulnerable, I am needed, and I am scared. We're surrounded by white students who do not know what it means to be a revolutionary. On the third day, we moved our tents to center vulnerable identities. My tent, which was previously on the edge of the lawn, is now in the center. I wish we had thought of this sooner, but white people don't think like they're in danger, and I've been disregarding the perpetual stomachache that keeps me from sleeping every night. There's a streamline of care formulating at the encampment. The people of color care for the well-being of others and the people that surround them, and the white students focus on the structure of what we're building. My friends and I check in with everyone, making sure that they feel safe and prepared. The white students interrupt these moments and ask us to help them make decisions about our next steps. I don't know if they actually want our thoughts, or if they just want us to think we have a say. It's the third afternoon, and we're at our third meeting of the day. We're having the same conversations once again, but this time there's more pressure from administration. They are demanding we take down the encampment tonight, but we have no intention of doing that. We talk of ways to protect ourselves in the case that law enforcement gets involved, but I don't trust these people enough to protect one another, let alone themselves. As I sit on the ground trying to listen, a large banner with the word resistance painted on it sways between me and my friend, taking turns hitting us both on the head. I grab the banner to hold it at bay. I know this is not sustainable. At some point my arm will get tired, but at least, for a moment, I'll get a break from being slapped in the face by resistance. This meeting feels different from others. I can feel my hope blowing away into the harsh spring wind. I don't know it yet, but I've lost part of my faith. I've lost faith in this encampment, in the white people who claim to lead us, and in our combined ability to resist. I'm brought to tears by this grief. This is my first time crying in public. I sit with my knees bent into my chest, and my head rests inside a nook that I create with my arms. To some, it may look like I'm just resting. To some, it may look like I'm praying. One of the only other black students on site sits down next to me. They work for one of the school's counseling services, or for this one of the, yeah, okay. Specifically focusing on disputes between students. They rub my back slightly, announcing their presence. In a gentle voice, they ask me, I can see that you're in distress. Do you want to be hugged, helped, or left alone? I shake my head. I don't know what I need. However, knowing that they care enough to check on me was already loosening the knot in my throat. There was no care outside the community of color we built in this space. That was one of the only beautiful things to come out of the encampment. At the end of the day, we get word that the president refuses to negotiate with us any further. Everyone tries to get some sleep, but this is an especially difficult night. By the end of the next day, we were asked to take down the entire encampment. We did not convince the school to divest from weapons manufacturing, and the only win was the ability to present a proposal to an investment advisory council and a school-wide email addressing our efforts. I was not ready to join this encampment, and I was not ready for how much it would change the way I see the community at my school. I am disappointed by the majority white membership, their lack of understanding of care, and a constant pull to self-righteousness. I continue to work with SJP today because the fight for a free Palestine will always come first. Black feminist leftists like Claudia Jones, Bell Hooks, and Angela Davis have written about this dynamic for decades. And navigating this space is an ongoing challenge, but I will not give up. I am still the little girl that went to church every Sunday, refusing to believe that this is the way that life has to be.
I'm at home, sitting on my sofa, feet dangling off the sidearm. Soothing sounds of walkers growling and guns shooting playing from my television. The Walking Dead fills the background. I breathe in and out as I contemplate my decision to finish this joint in my hand or not. Before I can decide, I feel the energy shift in the room. I feel the shift before I can even feel the vibrations of my phone. My mom's name and face appears on my screen, and my heart rate beats. My breath catches in my throat. I slide up the bouncing green phone icon and a deep voice immediately calls out my name. Slim? A name only known to those close enough to know me in those early days. I take another breath in, another breath out. I listen as my brother recounts his past few hours of his car ride, but not entirely before my mom's voice interrupts with some much needed details to the story. This is how it always plays out. My mom and my brother going back and forth. He calls to explain. She jumps in to correct. He yells over her over him, back and forth. Even through the phone, it still grips me. But I used to be there physically till I decided to leave. There was something about my mind that day. Could have been the early departure that had me up before the morning dew had settled. It could have been the triple check of all the belongings I called my life. Maybe it was the long, drawn-out goodbye my mom and my brother demanded. A hug, followed by a kiss on the cheek, and then another hug, followed by a quadruple check of my bags and ticket. For all the eyes on the outside looking in, this was a bittersweet moment. A family sending their oldest off to an unknown land. To those unsuspecting, this was a sweet goodbye. The ache in my shoulders proves my body has not forgotten the 48-hour ordeal it even took to make it to the train station. The fuzziness and dullness in my head was longing to forget the loud words shouted between the three family members. Even the cramping in my stomach protested the last incoming hug. By all accounts, I am ready to go, and in perfect timing, as my train gate information is announced through the intercom. Gate number 3 to New York, now boarding. But I felt guilt creeping in, and a need to apologize as I lament the thought of having to leave my mom and my brother to share the next 4 years alone. I look down at my ticket. I breathe in a sudden rush to my lungs and breathe out as I contemplate what my decision means for them. And I know I have to leave. Rolling my suitcase down the gravel path to the tracks, my book bag securely on my shoulders, one would think the weight would have slowed me down. But solid step by solid step, my feet do not falter. The rolling wheels hum steadily on the ground with each step, adding to my own personal soundtrack. The train looks longer than any moving train I've seen on the rail tracks as a kid. The big cargo shipping units replaced by shining windows and sliding doors. The Polar Express comes to my mind, and I stifle a smile. I approach the train attendant at the open door, nodding yes to his question of New York. I feel lighter by the moment as I pull my luggage onto the train car. Moving down the aisle, I look for an empty space to settle, taking in the silent hum around me. I take my seat, situate my bags above me and below me, and settle my thoughts on the silent hum of the train. As the light chatter and laughter from the other patrons chirp around me, I realize the silent hum is not caused by the train engine, but coming from inside of me. I feel it as I breathe out the stresses from hours before, not around me, but within my body. My shoulders relax onto the seat behind me. The mental fog clears. Even the cramping in my stomach subsides into small patterns, barely noticeable with every breath. My body lurches forward, the railroads of New Orleans slowly rolling past me. There's something about this mood, I think. Another smile playing on my lips. I'm finally leaving. I'm finally gone. Did you make it there yet? Call me when you get there. The letters on the screen scream at me to reply, so I do. I'm okay at Penn Station, waiting for my train. I click the sides of my phone for my power button because I can turn this conversation off, even if temporarily. I slide my phone back into my pocket. Stepping into Penn Station, hundreds of bodies passing by. I can't remember the last time I felt so free. My luggage drags behind me with each step. It feels like slow motion. I look around, in part for my next train gate, in part to take in my new surroundings. The hundreds of people do not bother me. The shady man walking dangerously close to me does not frighten me. The short and curt responses from the Penn Station officials do not make me want to turn and run. The views of the Hudson River are nice. The river racing itself, the green of the trees wrestling against each other. The way the roads seem to blend in with foliage on either side. I settle as I look outside the windows of my new room. It's quiet. This quiet will follow me a lot in my new home, and I gladly welcome it each time. I only notice this calming silence go stale after one particular phone call. I answer quickly while the smile is still dancing on my face from some joke lingering at the dinner table. The smile even stays as I hear the old familiar nickname again. Slim, can you please talk to your brother? My smile fades. Can you please talk to your brother? The weighted question over the phone is at odds with the jovial laughter at the table. My shoulders tense. Can you please talk to your brother? What happened? I hear myself ask. The account of arguments and threats fill my ears, a momentary teleportation trick. Suddenly, I'm 2,200 miles back south. Listen, Pint, all I asked was her to bring me to the store, and no, that's not what you asked. Slim, he yelled at me to bring him to the store or he was going to tear the whole place apart. And when the mental fog fills my head as I carefully talk my mother and brother off a precarious emotional ledge. Because you said you were going to bring me earlier. The two voices continue to overlap, merging the two arguments into a battle of wills. I look down at my phone in disbelief. The voice is echoing off the walls, begging to invade the space I call home. Now let me tell you something, Slim. The name feels like a hard knock at my door. Man, Pint, listen, I'm about to hurt somebody. No, you're not. Man, shut up. Don't talk to me like that. I look around the room for a way out. Anywhere. I look down at my phone again. A voice tells me, they're not here. They are 2,200 miles away, and you're here at home, the voice tells me. The voice is so clear that it dares to break through the barrier of familiar voices. Notes from therapy rush to the front of my thoughts, and the word, boundaries. But those words, boundaries, followed by respect, fall on deaf ears. The call never seems to end, despite hanging up the phone several times. It's been 4 days this time that my brother has been calling nonstop. And though I love him, I just need a break. I answer the phone, and once again, I am bombarded with the plans and the problems of his own making, or maybe just my own. I want to move to Las Vegas, maybe Maryland. I hear a lot of people up there, so maybe that's what I need, a different environment, you know? What do you think about that? Pint? I listen to my brother, my baby brother, my 20-year-old baby brother. I listen and I don't know what to say. What can I say that I haven't said, screamed, cried, texted already? Well, good luck. There's more. Of course there's more. I want to say more. Like, how in the hell are you going to live on your own in a whole new state when you don't even like staying home by yourself? Do you know what the unhoused situation is like in Las Vegas? You need to focus on your mental health. Yes, there's so much more. But like I told him, and just like he told me, he has to have the chance to live his own life. And if he makes mistakes, then they'll be his mistakes. Well, do you think it's a good idea? You don't want to know what I think. I'm going to be okay. I know. I love you, Pint. I love you too. We hang up. Please, just be safe. Over my time at college, the phone calls come on a regular basis. The voices from home blending into the voices of my classroom. Their arguments lingering with me on the dance floor at Blythewood or Manor. Their problems became my own. Their arguments, mine too. That tension in my head and shoulders slowly creeps on to the top of the stresses of a young black woman in her first year of a PWI, or predominantly white institution. Two worlds colliding into one. But tonight, 2,200 miles away, and with brand new boundaries, I let my fingers find their way to the red phone icon. It's brighter than I remember for some reason. I don't even feel the tap of the screen, replaced by the deafening silence that hugs me. A weighted blanket, if I ever did have one. The blood returns to my legs, my ankles, my feet, my toes. The low growls of the walking dead fills my ears. I scan the walls now. Again, just walls of my home. My head falls back on my sofa pillow, just as my joint from earlier comes back into view. I look over to my phone, slide the screen down to my settings. Do not disturb, on. I grab the lighter, threatening to fall off the edge of the sofa, and spark the last few puffs. I breathe in, and I breathe out.
Here in Ohio, everything is quiet and still. Unlike our family home in Buffalo, where I can never catch a moment's peace from the whirlwind of family. One afternoon back home, I'm sitting on the heater grate in my undies, absorbed in reading, when my brother and a neighbor friend burst in the room. I am gripped with embarrassment. Even where I'm supposed to be able to relax, to be quiet and hide out from the constant motion of the family, I can't. But in the summers, the whole family piles into our Oldsmobile station wagon, and we begin our annual migration southwest to Mama Keys. I'm sitting in the jump seat in the back, feeling a little sick from facing backward, but happy for a little distance from my two younger brothers. My beat-up cassette player repeats Fantasy by Mariah Carey a billion times as we drive through the Rust Belt, passing cornfield after cornfield until we arrive in Wilberforce. But it's just a sweet, sweet fantasy, baby. When I close my eyes, you come and you take me on and on and on. Yeah. Now, except for the endless buzz of cicadas, the sound of ice clinking against the tall glasses of lemonade, and the crinkle of the plastic on the floral couch in the living room, all is peaceful. Mama Key's house smells of ham, fresh cotton laundry, stale beer, and Dove soap. Dorothy May, as people her own age could call her, was known to be whip smart and cool as a roach on a poach, too smooth to move. She was a kitchen magician, green thumb growing, turn a one-pot meal into enough to feed a family of 9, plus the neighbor friend kind of Mississippi black bread excellence that could easily, and sometimes did, go unnoticed. Mama Key's garden isn't the best kept. It's not going to win any blue ribbons. Still, it grows endless successions of collards, tomatoes, green onions, and green beans. I'm not sure how healthy the soil is right next to where Uncle Bernice changes the car oil, but everything grows well enough. Evenings over dinner, my father likes to recount stories from those hot, hungry days in Mississippi. But Mama Key lives in the present. Mississippi is spilled milk. Nothing to go back to. Nothing to discuss. One of my father's paintings is called The Weigh-In, the Unfair Scale. In it, a mauve and navy sky sits heavy over cotton fields. The white landowner has his back to us, an expressionless face turned up to the rigged scale gauge above his head. A bale of cotton dangles from its hook. Dorothy May, too, faces the gauge, towering over her children, small as dolls behind her, as she faces down the barrel of the season's cotton harvest. You must understand, the weigh-in seals the Key family's fate for the entire year ahead, deciding exactly how deeply in debt they will remain as sharecroppers. But Dorothy May is strategic, bold, and unbossed. She had hidden bricks in the center of her bag to correct the rigged gauge, gambling on the very roof over her family's heads, betting on food in the mouths of her children. In that moment, I imagine she willed her uneven breath to settle, willed the sweat to creep back up to her brow, and willed her young ones into peace with only a side eye. I don't know how she managed that feat. She made the world bend to her quietly, without any major accolades or public acclaim. She taught my father and his children how fiercely a black parent could love. Mama Key's face rests into itself, all her energy contentedly curled inside like a cat sleeping in the sun. Her soft hands are the color of rich toffee. She smiles small smiles that never show her teeth. And she doesn't praise whoever speaks the loudest or the longest. She wraps her head with a simple white cotton cloth that could be cut from an old t-shirt. A thin floral robe wraps around her waist. Dorothy May is slight, yet mighty, delicate and elegant. Her presence is large without being domineering. When she rests her attention on me, I can feel a peaceful place inside, like lying in the arms of my favorite tree or along the side of a creek. She tolerates me hanging around her kitchen as long as I'm quiet and observant, skills that I have cultivated from hours of sitting on that heater grate back home. Sometimes I can catch a peek of her deft hands whipping cornbread batter or forming biscuits. If she catches me staring, she instantly sends me to the back porch steps to be useful out of her hair by popping beans, pinching off the part of the pods that had been connected to the woody stalks. There is ritual whenever I first arrive, and again when I am leaving. She presses the sides of my head together firmly between her knobbly knuckled fingers and kisses my forehead right above the place between my eyes. She presses a prayer into my little curl-covered head, whispering, "Stay sweet," and Black is beautiful. The lawn behind Dorothy May's house feels so vast. Cicadas vibrate in the locust trees encircling the yard, echoing from one side to the other in call and response. At night, my brothers and I chase lightning bugs with a glass ball jar, cupping our small palms over the top to keep them inside. I lose all sense of time. The cool winds at night relax all my thoughts away, leaving only the grass tickling my ankles as I leap to capture another June bug. Later, I am comforted by their winking bright lights by the nightstand next to my bed. Falling asleep, I recount the day to myself. A $2 order of steaming hot hush puppies at Long John Silver's. The sound of string beans picked from the garden patch and plunked into the plastic bucket. The feel of the sticky biscuit dough between my fingers, and the sweep of Mama Key's soft pink slippers pacing from one side of the small kitchen to the other. I find satisfaction in how much oil is available for frying, the lottery ticket we bought, the plates of food, whether large or small. All the things I can see, feel, taste, and touch become more real when they are seen as the exceptional moments of life that they are. Moving at the pace of Dorothy May, I learn how to notice and be satisfied with each of the day's many small miracles. Today, I still live in a city, but I have a quiet apartment I can retreat to that I share with my cat, Jasper. My home is full of handmade art, dog-eared books, colorful fabrics, musical instruments, and the aroma of good food wafting from the oven. There's a sense of safety and inspiration. Poughkeepsie Farm Project can feel like my family living room, a grand central station of requests, giggles, unexpected heartache, joyful news, and other endless chaotic busyness. I don't take for granted the specialness of being in a workplace where people delight in taking off their shoes on their lunch break to let their toes breathe. In our small office, a former creamery, spontaneous sing-alongs pop off between adjoining offices. You make me feel like a natural woman. Okay, come on, guys. We continue to muse about food even after we've been looking at food and thinking about food for hours. Our appreciation wall is filled with love notes, and the daily busyness can easily make way to welcome visitors to the land. 7 years ago, when I was contracted as a culinary educator a few times a month at PFP, I was unsettled by how few Black people I saw on the land, and when any other place in the city is filled with Black life and love. The struggles of gaining access, then representation, and working toward community ownership are real in our organization. The ancestor farmers of this land are a part of a multiracial past, and the future includes all of us being in these bodies on this sweet earth, like our peoples have been for generations before us. What did I learn from Dorothy May, this woman who gave me everything I needed to know with her presence and not her words? I learned that my capacity for peace starts with being satisfied with what is, that the loudest voice in the room might not be a sign of true strength, that nature is a wellspring from which countless homes emerge in real time. The cool patch of shade under a pine or the voice of a stream might be my home for a while. I learned that medicine exists in our touch when we allow the healing rhythms of our hearts to set our intentions in the life we are co-creating with those we love. Not too long ago, my father gave me this watercolor painting he made of Dorothy May, striding past him in a field of low young cotton. In this picture, she had already hoed her own row and caught up to finish his. She strides past him with a smile just crossing the corner of her lips. His hands are up in the air, baffled at her might.
y'all. This is the cast of Black Voices, Poughkeepsie Roots, and Poughkeepsie Farm Project. Thank you all.